instead of disliking this video based on your opinion, I have provided you with 2 comments in the comments section. One that says Megaman 2 and one that says Megaman 4. Upvote your favorite accordingly, but only after you watch this video. So when you are liking or disliking the video itself, base it on the video content, not the game you like. We cool? Megaman 2, released in 1989 in the US for the Nintendo Entertainment System, has truly melted everyone's hearts as the best Mega Man game on the NES. Mega Man 2 keeps dominating every top list where NES games are mentioned. Mega Man 5 better than Mega Man 4. Your list is now invalid. No research has been done here, it's a typical IGN list. Along with the fact that the Charge Buster is so broken in that game, you don't need any weapons. And they use this excuse when rating Mega Man 4. I don't think they have played any other Mega Man besides Mega Man 2. Disgusting. And ranking Mega Man 7 at the bottom? Ugh. If you'd ask anyone today which game they remember and played as a kid, most of them would say Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is a case that is driven by strong nostalgia towards the game. Usually you don't let your feelings for the game affect ratings, but why is it the case with Mega Man 2? Nintendo Power showcased Mega Man 2 in its cover in issue 7 in 1989, the same year the game came out. Shortly after this, Super Mario Bros. 3 came out after being teased in the Wizard. It was a great time to be an NES player. This was also when most people played both of these games, and they were an instant hit. Not long after, the Super Nintendo was released in 1991, followed by Mega Man 4 for the NES in 1992. Could this have something to do with the poor reception of Mega Man 4 today? After all, it seems like most people played Mega Man 4 later in life, either through emulation or via collecting NES games and coming across it. When ranking the games, Mega Man 4 is often thrown in the same pile with 5 and 6, and Mega Man 2 is often thrown in with Mega Man 1 and 3. This I never understood. It seems to be such a strong fact that Mega Man started to go downhill after Mega Man 3. Excuse me? Let's push all the happy nostalgia aside, all the feelings we have for these games, and look at them for what they are. The following minutes will showcase why I think Mega Man 4 is a better game than Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is a very good game. It's colorful, the music is embedded in your brain for decades, and the concept makes sense. Being 1989, it was still an experimental time. Mega Man 2 was a test to see what Capcom could do with Mega Man, and it really was a success. Mega Man 2 is considered the best, even with its flaws. It's a flawed game. Still, Mega Man 2 defined what Mega Man is as a franchise, and every game that came after used the same formula. But I'll tell you why this doesn't matter what comes to Mega Man 2. Mega Man innovated throughout the titles, up until Mega Man 4. 1 was the first game, 2 improved pretty much every aspect of 1, and 3 added the slide and beautiful graphics. 4 added the Charge Buster and further improved the gameplay. And we don't talk about 5 and 6. The innovation and improvement ended at number 4. I'll make a complete list of games later on a separate video, but for now let's discuss Mega Man 2 and 4. Mega Man 1 and 2 share the same engine, and the controls are pretty much the same. Some quirks have been fixed, like the physics when dropping down for instance. Mega Man 2 starts with one of the most memorable intros in the NES history. With its emotional music and short story sequence, it sets the tone perfectly. After the intro, you are forced to select the difficulty setting. It should be noted that the difficult option is normal in Japan, and the normal difficulty was added because they were afraid that the game was going to be too difficult for the American audience. Normal is the setting that most people pick when they play this game. That's a shame, because it really makes the game ridiculously easy. In reality, the difficulty setting doesn't increase the game's credibility in my eyes, it was just a test to see if it was really necessary, and it's the only game on the NES to have that option as a result. After selecting the difficulty setting, we are placed in the stage select screen. These 8 Robot Masters are probably the most well known when discussing Mega Man, further backing up the theory that nostalgia is very strong with this title. The 8 Robot Master stages are pretty well designed, although they can be a bit bland at times. Long stretches of walking, lacking enemy variety, and just the overall design and layout of the stages are not up to par. Up to par with what though? You guessed it. Let's move on. Most of Mega Man 2's weapons are useless. The balance is way off, with Metal Blade barely draining its energy and killing almost every enemy and firing in 8 directions. Quick boomerangs that are limited in range but still pretty fun. Leaf Shield being a gimmicky weapon useful in only a handful of situations and flying off if you move. Air Shooter going up in a weird arc that makes hitting most enemies difficult. Crash Bomb that really doesn't have any good use apart from the Boo Beam trap where it's required. Time Stopper that completely runs out of energy on one use. Bubble Lead that slowly travels through the terrain and dings against bloody everything. And finally, Atomic Fire that gets almost no use at all if you don't charge it, and well, it's a pain to charge. Most people playing on normal can easily Mega Buster the Robot Masters as well, so in the end, using the weapons is pretty much the player's choice what comes to dealing with Robot Masters, and unfortunately, that's mostly where people would use the weapons anyway. Most of them are garbage. None of the Robot Masters are so difficult on normal where you would immensely benefit from a weapon either, but it's nice using them if you have them. The weapons in short just are not very good. They are extremely situational and for the most part a pain to use. Metal Blades is pretty much the go-to weapon and everyone uses those because it's such a broken weapon. Other weapons, there are only a handful of places where you really benefit from them. And you say Mega Man 4's weapons are useless, just shows how much you played the game or experimented with the weapons. The backgrounds for the most part are empty and simple. There is a lack of color and animations, and overall the presentation is only half decent. You'll definitely have fun when playing through the Robot Master stages, as they bring enough variety for you to keep your interest. However, now that we are comparing two games, Mega Man 2 suddenly looks like a painting done by your kid at school that you stick to your fridge and pretend to be proud of it. Mega Man 2 is an amazing game on its own, but it has a competitor so strong, it's no use to rely on the game's nostalgia factor when we are only looking at the games critically. Dropping every bit of nostalgia for these two games, Mega Man 4 makes a lot more sense to be crowned as the better game. One of the huge problems is that Mega Man 2 shits the bed when it's time to hit the Wily Stages. Wily Stage 1 is very iconic though and the level design is pretty good. Mega Dragon is a fun enemy, even though the fight gets flawed when a lot of stuff is going on at the same time. The real problem comes when starting Wily 2. The color design is atrocious. You get your second use of Leaf Shield since you started the game, go past a couple of spike pushers and oh, stage over. Kill the Pico Kun and you're out of the stage in a minute. Next up, Wily 3, a water stage. Jump over the fish, die once to the spike drop, kill the 3 shotmen, and you're at the boss. Are you beginning to see the lackluster design yet? You better fill your crash bombs because it's time for Wily Stage 3. If you run out, you need to either stop and farm for weapon energy or game over and try again. Without doing some sick maneuvers at the boss, if you miss a single crash bomb, you no longer have enough and you will need to game over and try again. How did this pass testing? The stage itself is longer than the others thus far, but it's still super short and boring. Tackle the rematches and you're off to deal with Wily. Either insta-kill him with a single crash bomb, or, you guessed it, Metal Blades. If you don't have enough bubble at this point, you need to game over, again, because it is the only weakness of Alien Wily. Why are there almost no weapon feels anywhere in this part of the game? Also, no music. Why? How is this game considered good again? That's right, nostalgia. This game was played the most out of all the 6 games, but that doesn't make it the best. It's a very weak entry to the franchise, and in my books ranks pretty low in my scale of Mega Man games as of one of the most upsetting games I've played. It starts on a high note, but once you get to the Wily stages, you should realize how short, unimaginative, bland and frankly stupid they are. Just because the Wily stages are easy doesn't make the game good. The items in Mega Man 2 are pretty fun to use, and it's the first time we see items in a Mega Man game. But Mega Man 4 has that covered as well. Now let's jump to Mega Man 4 for a while. Mega Man 4 is the ignored Black Swan. Just because 5 and 6 happened doesn't mean you should drag 4 into the same pool. And if you did, you are zoomed way in and you should back up a bit to see the true picture. I've seen reviewers play the game just to write an article and by default rank it lower than 2. The reviewers have the wrong mindset when coming into this game. One of the biggest complaints for this game is the charge buster, and I fail to see how. It's a staple of almost every Mega Man game since, and it adds to the gameplay rather than taking away. In Mega Man 5's case, I can understand. It destroys the whole game, making it too easy, and the Robot Master weapons too poor. The charged buster has been mentioned to be too strong. If you actually played the game and used all of the weapons, you would see that this is not the case. The charged buster is fun to have, but by no means replaces any of the weapons. Mega Man 4 has the second best weapon set in any official game. It's right behind Mega Man 9. That is at least my opinion. Ring Boomerang works like Quick Boomerang, piercing enemies. Rain Flush is a screen nuke and comes in handy a lot. Flash Stopper freezes enemies. Pharaoh Shot can be charged and shot in multiple directions. Dust Crusher files like a buster but has projectiles. Skull Barrier is a very strong shield weapon. Dive Missile homes on enemies, and Trill Bomb crushes things like no tomorrow. All, and I mean all of the weapons come useful in almost every stage. The game is designed and polished so well that no weapon is unused if you study how they work and where they would be effective. The items. Balloon Adapter works just like an item 1, although a bit better. And the Wire Adapter is also a fun mechanic, as it is fun as a weapon as well. We've also got Rush Coil, Rush Marine, although pretty useless, and Rush Jet. We have a huge arsenal of weapons and utilities that blow Mega Man 2's arsenal out of the window very easily. The stages are designed very well around these weapons, and oftentimes it is required to put some thought into how to acquire certain items. Mega Man 4 is a beautiful game. It's absolutely gorgeous. Side by side, without ever knowing anything about these games, the majority would choose the right screen, because it looks so polished, clean and entertaining. The controls in Mega Man 1 and 2 are almost identical, and while they are not bad, I find that Mega Man 4's controls are the most fluent and risk-free of all the games. Everything works, inputs are not being eaten like in Mega Man 3, and there is no slight jump glitch like in Mega Man 6. I would still choose Force controls over 2, just because it feels a bit more flush. Mega Man 3 added the slide, and Mega Man 4 makes it work just as good as the previous game. Having the slide is pretty much a personal preference, but Mega Man 4 makes very good decisions with its gameplay to support the gimmick. Mega Man 4 was also the first game to have real cutscenes and really interesting backstory of how Mega Man was born. Mega Man 4's music is up to par with Mega Man 2, but why doesn't anyone remember it or think this way? Because of the big N, nostalgia. Nostalgia is the biggest reason why Mega Man 2 has the title it now has. Mega Man 4 has one of the best soundtracks in the entire NES library, and it should not be dismissed. Mega Man 4 puts a twist on the story and makes you go through Cossack stages before entering the Wily Stages. Cossack being the first suspect, you ravish through 4 Cossack stages, each of them being as long or even longer than the Robot Master stages, full of surprises, good variety of enemies, secrets, alternate paths and an amazing level design. You will not get bored playing through these, they are also very fucking beautiful. In addition to the Robot Master stages, there are 8 stages in Cossack and Wily alone, which makes it a hefty package. None of the stages feel rushed or incomplete, and every huge bastard of a boss is interesting in its own way. The Wily fight itself is a bit on the easy side, but at least we don't have to grind for weapon refills. Thank God. Mega Man 4 is all around a better game, there is no argument to be made. Side by side, these games are almost night and day. Mega Man 4 took everything that Mega Man 2 did and upped the ante 1,000 times. You are very welcome to say Mega Man 2 is the best game, but just remember, it's because you grew up with it and you enjoy the nostalgia factor of it. Both games have flaws, but Mega Man 2 really is an underdog when we compare the games with a critical eye. Some of the stages in Mega Man 2 don't even have any gimmicks, just random enemies placed in random spots with not as deep level design as in Mega Man 4. It feels like in Mega Man 4 everything is carefully placed where they need to be, whereas in Mega Man 2 they are just there to be there. I mean sure, Ringman stage is heavy on mini-bosses and most stages are littered with spikes and the learning curve is a bit steep, but hasn't Mega Man always been about that? Mega Man 2 is an easy game and a good beginner's touch on the franchise, but my god is it too easy on normal and still quite easy on difficult if you don't count in Wily Stage 3. And that again brings up the problem with balance. There is none. Mega Man 4's complexity really helps the game, and every room feels like a playground for you to explore. With Mega Man 2's lack of good weapons apart from metal blades, you'll often find yourself firing them out at every enemy and sometimes using the buster when you get tired. Bottom line is, the nostalgia makes people happy when they play Mega Man 2, and when you don't have any special feelings for other titles, then they lose by default. But if you try and drop the nostalgia for a few minutes, you can see which game truly is superior. And what is this talk about Mega Man 4's Robot Masters being stupid? They don't always have to be about elements. I certainly didn't think they were stupid when I was a kid playing the game. And since then, Capcom has really continued with this mindset. I always thought the silly Robot Masters were done on purpose. Well, how about Woodman, Bubbleman or Crashman? They are a bit silly if you ask me. The biggest flaw of Mega Man 4 are some of the cheap shots and the password system not saving E-tanks, but that's still nothing compared to what Mega Man 4 has to offer compared to Mega Man 2. With a huge variety of different mechanics and gimmicks comes a few problems. Even by looking at the terrain, the attention to detail is pretty obvious. You can't get this level of detail in Mega Man 2. In Mega Man 4 you can revisit stages, whereas in Mega Man 2 you can't. And Mega Man 4's weapon select screen is much more refined from Mega Man 2. It's things like these that add up into a bigger snowball. The ending has been a huge disappointment as well for Mega Man 4 players. Seriously? Somebody plays these for the story? Alright. Because Hologram Alien Wily was so much better. Alright, so Mega Man 2 is not a bad game. I still love Mega Man 2 for what it is. But I just find that Mega Man 4 is a much more refined, polished, and a better experience all around when comparing straight to Mega Man 2 and when we drop the nostalgia factor for it. So leave an upvote in the comments for which game you think is better and which game you enjoy more. Until next time.